Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch. We're so cool. We're so cool, we're on a t-shirt.
I'm very cool too, I'd like you to know.
You are! Frips, my bitch! Yeah!
Are you warm now?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just the crane. You've gone too far this time. My eyes are up here. Woo! Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch. Wah! Hello everybody and welcome to Toyah at Home. This is my midlife crisis. I've taken up kayaking on the River Avon and I absolutely love it. So I'm just trying to find the sun. So this is where I live. I live on the River Avon. I'm really lucky at this time of year that the river isn't up. When it's up, it goes above the fences behind me. So it can go up about 10 feet. Now there's a metal fence with roses on just behind me. So the water, when it's up, can go right up over those fences to the point that we have actually had people in canoes row round our garden. And opposite us is a water hydro. So I don't have to paddle that hard because it's actually got a channel that takes water into the hydro that supplies all the public areas in my town with really good eco-friendly electricity. So I'm just going to turn my kayak so you can see this. It's astonishing. I watched this being built about 5 years ago. It was slowly being built by bulldozers and diggers, but they kept the bank. So this used to be part of the river bank, and the bulldozers slowly started to disappear below the bank, the other side where that estuary is now, and I'm now being pulled towards it. And then on the day that they had finished digging the 40-foot estuary, a man came along with a spade and he literally just dug a channel like that. It was no more than 3 feet deep, and all you heard for 3 hours was whoosh as that channel filled with water. It was like going back 100 years and seeing something as it would have been done before the machinery we have today. The channel was filled and they then removed the bank. So round that corner is a water hydro, which is beautifully designed and beautifully built. It does not interfere with our life at all, even though on some days you can hear the kind of thudding of the turbines. So here I am kayaking at the age of 63. Never too late, never too late. And I absolutely love it. And you can't keep me off the river, even when I've got blisters on my hands. So Toyah Willcox, your first question, and it's the first question today. Have I still got the outfit I wore for the video of Rebel Run? Yes, I have. It's in the attic, so when I'm back on land, I'm going to film a little clip of where it is in storage in the attic. It's based on an American football uniform where they have all that padding and all that protection and they have that masks. But the design I'm wearing was actually made and designed by Swanky Modes. Swanky Modes used to be based in Camden Town, and I wore a lot of their clothes. They were really ahead of the game in the late 70s, 1980s. Fantastic clothes. In fact, On one of my very, very rare holidays, I think I've had about 4 holidays in 40 years, I was coming back from Barbados in 1983 and my swanky modes clothes were packed in a suitcase, and when I got back to the UK the only thing missing from the suitcase was my swanky modes clothes. I absolutely adored their designs. So our first video today is a recording I did a year ago in lockdown in my green screen studio, which I then later used to make the 10 videos for Posh Pop, which are now all finished and you'll start seeing in a couple of weeks. So this is Lockdown Toyah Rebel Run. Enjoy. That was Rebel Run, filmed a year ago in lockdown in my green screen studio here at home. And we just thought we'd take a trip down memory lane, because in about 2 weeks everything's going to change. You're going to get music that is spanking brand new, new videos and new performances, which we're all very excited about. So at the moment I'm down on the weir. And this weir I couldn't come near if there'd been rain. It would be too high. So there's a lock just behind me, and I used to man this lock as a child with my parents. We'd volunteer and man the lock. There it is. So there is, at this weir, literally about a 10-foot drop, and on the weir are eel runs built up so the eels can come upstream when they want to kind of lay their sprats. That's what you call them. But if there'd been rain or the river was up even by another 5 inches, I would not be able to come near this weir. It's too ferocious. So I'm on the River Avon. My next question comes from Michaela Richards. You ask, do I cut my hair myself? That's really made me laugh. So I'm wondering, is this a lockdown question? I am very lucky that where I live, that the whole of my team are literally within 20 yards of my front door. And during lockdown, to make everything continue, we created a pod. Now, I tested regularly. A nurse would come to the house and test us. In the beginning, she could only test us for antibodies, but eventually, as the tests got more developed, we could be tested to see if we had COVID in the actual time. I never had COVID and I never had antibodies, but it meant that we could keep working in the pod. So Simon Darlow was part of the pod, Robert, obviously, my husband, part of the pod, my hairdresser was part of the pod, as was Sydney Jake and my personal trainer. Because as those of you who know me well, I have to have physical training virtually every day just because of the way I was born, which is why I'm now kayaking, to keep my strength up and all of that. So your question, Michael, is did I or do I cut my hair myself? I'm forbidden from cutting my hair myself because often I will cut my fringe when it annoys me, and that in equal measure annoys my hairdresser. So no, I'm not allowed to cut my hair myself, but I think it's a great cut and I think layers suit me because my hair is so thick. Now I want to show you something that fascinates me. As a child, there was a children's series called The Lightning Tree, and I thought it was just a romantic notion. So here I am on a beautiful sunny day underneath a lightning tree, and I'm just going to move the camera to show you where it is, because this tree I have actually seen be struck by lightning twice. There it is. There it is. I believe it's an ash, and it's now covered in mistletoe. I witnessed one of the lightning strikes about 4 years ago, and the owner witnessed it too because it's our next door garden, and that poor tree has been struck twice, which makes me believe that there is something about this area. Now we know we're on a ley line, which is why so many strange and wonderful things happen here. It's what's called an active town. It's one of the most haunted towns in the UK. But we have another lightning tree, literally 50 yards away, I'd say. And this poor tree was only planted a matter of years ago, and it was immediately hit by lightning. And I think it's fascinating. It's just over the river from the other lightning tree. I just want to get up to it and show it you. All the birds are nesting at the moment, but they're quite calm. There's a swan's nest over there. I do feed the swans, so they're a bit chummy with me, but they won't want me near their nest. So this is the other lightning tree. So there's the one in the background, which is our neighbour's, and here is the other lightning tree. And this poor thing, there you go, struck by lightning. I mean, it literally had only been up for about a year, possibly 2 years, and we saw lightning strike it. So there's something very, very interesting about this particular part of the river that this can happen. Irene Pierre, you ask, how did I get my name Toyah? This is slightly enigmatic, this story. I was named Toyah Pepita Budella. And when my father went to register the birth, the registrar said I had to have a predominantly English name. So I became Toyah Ann Willcox. My mother named all of her children with what were unusual names at the time. My sister was called Nicola, which wasn't very common 70 years ago, about to be 71 years ago. And my brother was called Kimberly, which was only really known in the Rudyard Kipling books, and I became Toyah. Now, my mother said that she read it as a name of a ballerina in a book she read when she was 14 years old. But there's a strange coincidence here. In 1981, when I started to become very famous in the UK and Europe and slightly well known in America, the sheriff of a town called Willcox, it was Willcox Mountain, wrote to me and he said, why are so many people coming to Willcox and telling me about you? Now, Willcox Mountain is spelt with one L, and my Willcox was one L about 100 years ago, but my grandfather was in a partnership, a business partnership with Willcox Lang, the construction engineers, and he was very instrumental in building most of King's Heath where I was born, and most of Birmingham city centre. And when my father parted company from the Willcox Lang dynasty, we added the two L's. So Willcox Mountain has one L. And the sheriff of Willcox says, everyone is coming to me and telling me about you, Toyah. Did you know that next to Willcox Mountain in Arizona is the Toyah Lake? And the Toyah tribe were Native American. They were particularly renowned for the Toyah arrow. I'm going to show you one. This arrow was renowned because it was small, made from flint, and it couldn't be removed from under the skin. And they were known as the Toyah tribe. Toyah, I believe, means water, the giver of life, but it also represents this particularly aggressive arrow that the tribe developed. And that is where my name came from. I have since found out in most languages Toyah does have a meaning. In German it's expensive, in Japanese it's dear. But when I started touring Italy in the late 1970s as a punk rock singer, I discovered that my name Toyah is close to the word Toyah, which means your mother is a bitch pig in Italian. So I never understood, whenever I was introduced on stage in Italy, why everyone burst out laughing. Robert Davis, you ask, do I have any memorable moments from doing Top of the Pops? Well, I have to say, Robert, every Top of the Pops was memorable. It was absolutely breathtaking. It was everything I wanted to be. The thing about Top of the Pops, if you're watching outside of the UK, it was the most powerful music programme in the UK, possibly in Europe, and even possibly in America at the time. It started around the early 60s, and you had to be on it to be considered successful. Also, you had to be on it with an early chart placing within the top 40 on the first week of official sales of whatever you were releasing as a single to get a place on Top of the Pops. So when I got a phone call, and I think it was March 1981, saying, congratulations, you have just edged into the top 40 with It's a Mystery. I think I got in at 39, and I had record pluggers who managed to persuade the BBC Top of the Pops that I deserved a place on the show that Thursday. If I hadn't have got that place, my history would be very, very different. I got the place, and the phone call came saying, you're on tomorrow. So with Top of the Pops, you used to turn up at 10:30 in the morning, and I don't believe the superstars had to do this, but I was very much a newbie. I was a newcomer. So I turned up at 10:30. We rehearsed at least 3 times on camera because everything was shot as live. At 7 o'clock or 7:30, whenever the show aired, we were doing it as real, live in the studio. So we had lots and lots of rehearsals. And I can remember these camera rehearsals was so much fun. In those days, the cameramen would talk to you, they'd tell you stories, they'd tell you their favourite artists. It was lots of fun, but also very, very tiring. So by about 4 o'clock, you would have what was called lunch, and then you'd go to makeup. And in those days, I used the BBC makeup team, but after the first Top of the Pops I did, I brought my own makeup team in because my makeup became more specialised. And then you would just wait in complete anticipation to go into the studio at 7 o'clock and to shoot your section. I was absolutely terrified. Now, legally, we were supposed to be singing live, but there was a loophole which meant we could record the whole track the night before and mime, and virtually everyone did that, and I tell you why. The BBC at that point were not renowned for good sound, and it was very, very dodgy if you did sing live. It could actually affect the sales quite badly. But even miming, I was just terrified. I felt so out of my depth. Up until this point, the biggest venue that I'd ever played was the Rainbow, and suddenly I was in a studio performing on a show that my family stopped everything every Thursday to watch, and also Christmas Day we stopped everything to watch Top of the Pops. It was one of the biggest family shows along with Morecambe and Wise, and here I was, and I was on it. I remember Adam Ant was 40 feet away on the stage waiting to perform his song because he was #1 at the time, and there I was on my stage. I don't have any memorable gossip, but what I will tell you on that first performance is my dear wonderful costume designer Melissa Kaplan couldn't get my costume to me on time, and as my backup costume I had a Willie Brown dress. Now Willie Brown did all the clothes for Bowie for the Heroes album. He was wonderful and the clothes were amazing. So purely by accident, for my first performance on Top of the Pops, I actually looked very, very feminine when normally I was gender neutral. And I think it actually helped people understand who and what I was. I loved doing Top of the Pops, and I did it for a couple of times every year for at least 4 years onwards. It was a fantastic show, and I think it really needs to come back, especially now because it would help the music industry so much. Isabel Sandeva, you say I've worked with many, many legends within film. I've worked with Sir John Mills, Katharine Hepburn, I've worked with Laurence Olivier, and I've just finished the film with Julian Sands. And you ask, have I ever been starstruck? I'm always starstruck. Famous people and the really legendary, talented people have a very, very specific aura. It's astonishing. Katharine Hepburn, I would say, it was the most relaxed of the stars that I work with. But when I say relaxed, I don't mean that in her way of working. I mean in her way of being with others. She loved real people. And I think that she possibly was quite burnt by the Hollywood system. And to be with us Brits on the film The Corn is Green, she absolutely adored our realness and our lack of starriness. She adored Patricia Hayes, who is playing my mother, and I definitely was starstruck by Patricia Hayes. She has been in the one play I would love to remake, and that was called Edna the Inebriate Woman, about a female alcoholic. It was an award-winning performance, and I would love to play that again. And watching Patricia Hayes play that in the mid-60s is one of the things that really made me want to become an actress and to take it very, very seriously. So I'm always starstruck, but I'm very respectful of people. The amazing thing about Patricia Hayes is wherever we went, she stopped the traffic. People would get out of their cars and want to talk to her. And back then there weren't cameras on phones, so people literally wanted her autograph and just to talk to her. I experienced the same, unbelievably, with Lionel Blair, the dancer. Wherever he went, people would just stop and want to talk to him. He had this kind of quality of being approachable, and he always was. He was very, very friendly and very, very genuine. Laurence Olivier was fascinating to work with, partly because my first ever stage job was at the National Theatre, which Lord Olivier had developed and opened, and that incredible history of him doing that. It was an honour working with him. He was not a well man. There was a nurse on set with him all the time. But he was incredible, he was breathtaking, and I'm often asked, did I ever learn off any of the people I work with? I learnt about dignity, and I find that absolutely phenomenal that I can say that about such big stars, is they taught me about dignity, generosity, discipline, and the enigmatic quality of charisma and true star ability. They were phenomenal people. I don't think I've ever met a star where I thought, ooh, why are you a star? No, that's just never happened. Stars are stars for a reason, because they're great. And also, they were in the right place at the right time. Because equally, I've met people with talent who've never been given a chance, and it is a little bit about being in the right place at the right time. With rock stars, I think there is genuinely a type of personality and character that makes someone a rock star, and they are ever so slightly self-destructive, which makes them quite scary to be with. So I'd say that most of my close friends are actors. There are a few rock stars, but you can't be with them that long because you can just see the candle at both ends burning. You know, they're burning in the firmament, and it's slightly scary to be with. So thank you very much for that question. We are going to go out on the official video for Sensational as a trip down memory lane, and within 2 weeks we're going to start exclusively playing for you and showing you the videos for Posh Pop, and I'm so excited. I want to say a big thank you to all of you who got up early. Some waited through the night to buy 4 from Toyah on green vinyl and mesmerised on vanilla vinyl. Your stories and your pictures have been so beautiful and so gratefully received, and thank you for your dedication in getting up early and queuing to buy the vinyl, and I'm so happy you loved it. So from me on the River Avon in a kayak I borrowed from Sydney Jake's wife, thank you, thank you, thank you, because my kayak is an inflatable, but this is a wonderful, real hardcore kayak. I'm off rowing, visiting places where my parents used to take me on their boat, and thank you for sharing this time with me. I'll see you tonight for Agony Aunts and for tomorrow's really wonderful celebratory Sunday lunch celebrating Father's Day. Lots of love from Toyah.
Are you warm enough?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just, the crane, you've gone too far this time.